This is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast. I am him, JIG. Subscribe, rate, and review Amazon, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Check us out. And don't forget about that Instagram at That Guy Jig. The NFL offseason has been a bomb. It has been an explosive one. We have shots being fired. We have the Steelers trading for Justin Fields. We have the Chicago Bears giving him away for seemingly nothing. And this is what, and see, the problem I have with the Justin Fields trade is this is what Tom Brady was alluding to when he said coaching and playing has taken a turn for the worse. No longer are we at a place where coaches take lemons and make lemonade, because that's what they're supposed to do. As a coach, you aren't able to get the best of the best. You aren't able to always get your guys. Sometimes you have to make lemonade out of lemons. But now we are at a weird place in the NFL where coaches are seemingly just getting rid of players because they can't make them fit in their scheme, rather than finding a way to make something happen for that player. And that's why the Baltimore Ravens, for me, will always get a round of applause as far as building something around Lamar Jackson for him to be successful. See, because if the Ravens didn't take the approach that they did take, Lamar Jackson doesn't have 2 MVPs. He doesn't have the legendary career that he has going and continuing to go without the Ravens support. Look at what the Chiefs did for Patrick Mahomes. Look at what the Chargers did for Justin Herbert. Dolphins did for Tua. Bills did for Josh Allen. I'm saying it hits different when an organization actually buys into the quarterback. And it seems like the Chicago Bears never really bought into Justin Fields. Right when they bring in Keenan Allen, because they've made so many moves. They got DeAndre Swift, they got Keenan Allen that they brought in this offseason. So that offense is going to be very potent. Right when it seemed as if the Chicago Bears were going to indeed go with Justin Fields, because the market was cold. The market was subpar, they said. Justin Fields' traction was not getting going. They gave him away for a 6th round pick that can be a 4th round pick depending on playing time. I'm here to tell you that it's going to stay a 6th round pick. You just traded the former number 1 overall pick, first round draft pick for your team. This was your first pick, your number 1 overall in that draft. And you just traded him away for a 6th round pick. I don't know what else that says about the Chicago Bears franchise, other than they wanted Caleb Williams. They felt, Matt Eberflus clearly said, I want Caleb. Justin is not working. He's not going to work. My thing is if Justin Fields does end up showing out in Pittsburgh, which I've always said, Justin Fields needs to go somewhere where he is able to succeed. And by succeeding, that doesn't necessarily mean starting. Sometimes success is learning. Sometimes a successful campaign is being able to sit back and learn from somebody. I know what you're thinking. He's learning from Russell Wilson. What the hell can he learn from Russell Wilson? Well, he can learn what not to do first and foremost. He can learn humility. Because it seems like that's the biggest thing for Russell Wilson is humility. It seems as if he was a very cocky and arrogant quarterback in Seattle. And when all that came crashing down, when his London Bridge came falling down, he did nothing but point fingers. He ended up going to the Denver Broncos, who people say that was a bad tenure, and it was a bad time in Denver. But we also have to remember that his head coach was fired that same first year. His head coach did not finish that season. We also have to remember that the Denver Broncos were trying to get Aaron Rodgers, so they went out and hired Nathaniel Hackett, Aaron Rodgers' best bud. And honestly, I would be on everybody else's side of Russell Wilson played like shit, he wasn't good, blah, 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 if Nathaniel Hackett didn't go to New York and also shit down his leg. It seems to me that Nathaniel Hackett needs an elite Hall of Fame quarterback to be a good offensive coordinator. I don't believe that if you're a good offensive coordinator, if that's what you need. If you need the decks loaded, if you need everything to go your way for you to be successful, are you truly a good coach? And that's why I'm so happy that Mike Tomlin is the guy to get these guys. Because if you remember, Mike Tomlin was very vocal about he is not afraid to coach. He's not afraid of coaching. Some of these players, they need coaching. Because we're at a time where we're at social media, where It's about who can get the most views, who can get the most clicks, the most likes. So a lot of these guys are skipping steps. But they're not going against the top 1%, so they're able to skate by. So then when they get drafted and they go against the 1% and they face adversity for the first time, they don't know how to get by it. And the last thing you need, if you don't know how to get through something or get over something, is for someone to tell you you can't do it and I'm just going to move on from you. I'm glad the Pittsburgh Steelers came out. They saw that they have the potential to get somebody clearly better than Kenny Pickett with Russell Wilson, clearly better than Kenny Pickett with Justin Fields. Kenny Pickett played the Pittsburgh Steelers out of the playoffs. As a team starting quarterback, the one thing you cannot do is play us out of a starting a playoff position. When the third string quarterback comes in and leads this team back into playoff contention after you have taken us out, your time here is done. And I don't really understand this whole pity that he is looking for in the media. What was said behind closed doors and what was going on behind closed doors. That he handled the situation right. That's what he said. I don't believe so. I think if anybody else, if Josh Allen or anybody else had that type of attitude where you need to trade me for bringing in somebody early in my career, I think we would be looking at those quarterbacks different. And we will be looking at Kenny Pickett different. He's going to go to Philadelphia. He'll be a backup. He may or may not get a chance to start depending on Jalen Hurts' injuries. So depending on what goes on there, it depends on a lot for Kenny Pickett. And I'm going to tell you something. The way he forced himself out of Pittsburgh, it needs to be taken for note. But like I said, the Chicago Bears made moves. No matter how you feel about the Justin Fields situation, the team still made moves. They got Keenan Allen. They got Cole Kmet. They got DJ Moore now. And now they also have DeAndre Swift. You add in a 5th, 6th round running back, this team is looking pretty good. Caleb Williams, in my opinion, is worth all the hype, so I do feel like this is a win now mode. Matt Eberflus, you have forced the number 1 pick out, so at this point, when we bring you another one, this has to be it for you. You have 2 years. Figure it out. But other than the Bears and the Steelers making moves in that same division, the AFC North, who I think is the best division in football, and as you look at it, it keeps getting better. Derrick Henry is now in the AFC North. He is a Baltimore Raven. This is huge for the Ravens. You bring in a running back, then now people have to respect the run to the point where the Ravens' play action fake is going to be very deadly. I would look for Lamar to probably throw for more yards next year just because you have Derrick Henry. I also would look for the Ravens to be even more effective in the red zone. We got to keep in mind, this is a top 5 red zone team last year, and now you bring in Derrick Henry as a battering ram. I like what they've done. I still wish they bring in a more wide receivers. I don't think this receiving core is good enough, but maybe they will fix that in the draft. Maybe they will go and look to do so in the draft. The receiver position is so deep in this year's draft that every team should be able to get them someone. The AFC North especially, I'm looking at this conference in particular because I'm looking at the Browns bring in Jerry Jeudy. I'm looking at the Steelers lose Deontay Johnson. I'm looking at the Bengals losing Tyler Boyd and probably going to lose T. Higgins if they can get him off for a trade. So when I'm looking around, I'm looking at teams that could use wide receivers. The Ravens lost Odell Beckham, so they could use some wide receiver help. This whole division could, because this division is going to be a very tight race next year. This is going to be one of these divisions that we look back and say, damn, maybe all 4 of these teams can make playoffs. The Bengals went out and signed Trent Brown today, helping solidify that offensive line. Bengals also let go of Joe Mixon. He then gets a $27 million 3-year deal from the Houston Texans. So Chase Brown is probably his time in Cincinnati. We're talking about the Illinois Fighting Illini all-time leading rusher. Big Ten football. He knows how to run the ball. He protects the ball. And above all, he's cheap. That's what it is. Above all, it's cheap. There's a dying market for the RB position. Unless you are the best of the best, sir, with honors, you will go for a discount. Austin Eckler went for I think he's making $11 million off of 2 years. He was seeking a lot more than that last year. funny how things turn quick in the NFL. Things happen quick. So as I look and I start digging even more in this AFC North, this is going to be a great division. This is going to be a great. The Tennessee Titans have also made moves in their division. That's the AFC South. They bring in Tony Pollard. They bring in Calvin Ridley to add on to DeAndre Hopkins, Tajay Spears, Okwanu, the tight end. Solid defense. They bring in an offensive-minded coach, Will Levis. They're going to see if they can make him shake, rattle, and move. The guy has a cannon, and now you bring in Calvin Ridley. So now he has two solid wide receivers to throw the ball to and two running backs that they should be able to rely on. Another guy moving around in the NFL, Kirk Cousins, is going from Minnesota to Atlanta. Now Atlanta's talking about winning. Now Atlanta's championship window is wide open. Once again, I asked Minnesota, what are we doing with Justin Jefferson? What is going to happen with Justin Jefferson? Because here's a guy who's going to command a max contract. He's going to financially hold your team hostage because of the money he's going to command. So are you going to pull are you going to pull what some of these teams do and just sign a high class wide receiver and go draft a quarterback and hopefully this quarterback turns out to be the legit and hopefully you guys can make a run for it. It's going to be very interesting to see what the Minnesota Vikings do because Kevin O'Connell likes to throw the ball a lot. So you have to wonder if they're going to get them a quarterback in the draft or are they going to be able to trade for a quarterback? Because I still predict a big splash is on the way. A big splash is on the way. I can feel it. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if Kyler Murray got traded. Here's a guy that they were looking to move on from last year. Looks like they're having some buyer's remorse. If I was the Minnesota Vikings, I would call the Arizona Cardinals and see what can we do to get Kyler over here. What can we do to pair Kyler Murray with Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Ty Chandler? What can we do to make this pairing happen? Because right now, if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, if I can't do something like that, I have to consider the other, which is trading Justin Jefferson and trying to get as much as I can. I know I'm not going to get equal value, but I have to get as much as I can while I can. And the only reason I look to say something like that about the Cardinals is because you just gave away. Hollywood Brown is gone. He's a Chief now. The Kansas City Chiefs just got Hollywood Brown, and Hollywood Brown is what Kadarius Toney is supposed to be. A speedster that can make plays with the ball in his hand. Hollywood Brown has better hands, better route running. I think Kadarius Toney might be a little faster. Might be a little more elusive in open space, but I'm still taking Hollywood Brown. The scramble drill in Kansas City just got that much more dangerous. The guy who can hold the ball for 15 seconds per play if he wanted to, now just got a guy with blazing speed that can get behind your defense. This is going to be interesting. The Philadelphia Eagles, we haven't forgot, they go out and get Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley just gives a straight middle finger to the Giants. Tiki Barber comes out and says, or Rondé, whichever barber it is, comes out and says that you're dead to us. I got a quick side rant. There's no such thing as loyalty in professional sports. And I just want you guys to know that because the sooner you get it, the faster we can move on. There's no loyalty in professional sports. LaShawn McCoy is the Eagles' all-time leading rusher, I believe, and they traded his ass fast. They traded him quicker than a $5 whore. They got rid of him. There's no loyalty in sports, guys. Especially professionals. We're looking at, people can argue Kobe Bryant, but these are special things, Even Peyton Manning didn't stay in the Colts his whole career. Tom Brady didn't stay as a Patriot his whole career. Why? Because there's no loyalty in this. I have to do what's best for this organization, not what's best for you. That's why you see a lot of guys come back and sign 10-day contracts so they can retire with the team. But when you're an active player, there is no loyalty. There is no loyalty. That's why I don't get upset with Kevin Durant. That's why I don't get upset when some of these players leave. Saquon Barkley had to do what was best for Saquon Barkley. And at the end of the day, look at Earl Thomas. Earl Thomas showed loyalty to the Seattle Seahawks, blew his knee out, because they didn't want to give him a contract before the season. The guy blows his knee out, and guess what? No money for Earl Thomas. That's why you get the middle finger as he's rolling off on the medical cart. There's no loyalty in this business, folks. We all want our favorite players to retire and stay on the same team, but in all actuality of the situation, it's probably not going to happen. We have to come to that conclusion as fans, that these guys are also humans and that they have to do what's best for them. Saquon Barkley being said, this is a great move. This move, you pay a guy like this because of Saquon Barkley's pass-catching abilities. Saquon Barkley is supposed to take pressure off of Jalen Hurts. Saquon Barkley is supposed to take swing passes, check downs. He's supposed to be able to take those to the next level. We saw what he could do in New York at the Giants, so just imagine what he's going to do with Philly. This offseason has been one of the more exciting ones. Aaron Donald retired. I mean, this has been an exciting offseason, but I'm telling you, there's still more to come. I can feel it. I feel it in my fingers. I feel it in my toes. And I'm telling you, there's going to be a big splash to be made because at this point, there kind of has to be. Mike Williams is a New York Jet now. I mean, the Chargers are cleaning house. I told you earlier, Keenan Allen got traded. Now Mike Williams are traded. Those are your two top receivers from last year. Now you're left with Quentin Johnston and Trey Palmer. So, I mean, the offense from last year is completely different. Austin Eckler's not there. The only returning starter, you got your offensive line, you got your quarterback. After that, there ain't much coming back from last year. So the Chargers are going to be a completely different football team. Completely different. From the play calling to the personnel. But that's what's so exciting because all this has fantasy football relevance. All of this is relevance to us who play fantasy football. Austin Eckler going to the Commanders, that's big time. Because if the Commanders can get their hands on Jaden Daniels, which I think they will draft, I think this turns out to be a very, very, very good deal. You look at the Washington Commanders last year. You take away those 20,000 interceptions that Sam Howell threw. This is a competitive football team. They have the weapons. They have the personnel. They have the skill group. They have the defense to be a solid team. They shouldn't be the worst team in that division next year. It should be the Giants because of how they are financially structured right now. Daniel Jones has those guys in a headlock, and he is squeezing. So with that being said, the Commanders could get to that third place. We don't know what the hell is going on in Dallas. They didn't even call Derrick Henry. Meanwhile, the Eagles are adding on to talent. The Eagles, I believe, just got someone from the Buccaneers as well, a linebacker. The Eagles are making moves. They're getting better. And if you're not getting better, what are you doing? Because honestly, I'm being real with you, guys. If you ain't getting better, you're getting worse. Because stagnation is worse. You can't be stagnant. The Detroit Lions, I was hoping for them to be a little bit more aggressive in free agency, considering the fact that they just made it to the NFC Championship. One game away from a Super Bowl. I don't think with that same roster, you are going to get the same results again. The Green Bay Packers got better. The Vikings got better. They bring in Aaron Jones. The Green Bay Packers bring in Josh Jacobs, Jingleheimer Smith. His name is my name too. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Stand up. Because we're cheeseheads. So that whole division got better. The Vikings, the Packers, the Bears. The whole division got better. Meanwhile, the Detroit Lions are staying still. Stagnation, it means you're getting worse. The Ravens, the Browns, the Steelers, they're all getting good. Bengals have not made any moves. Stagnations mean you're getting worse. So that's where we're at in the NFL is we're coming up on draft day. It's getting closer and closer. We're seeing people throw. We're seeing people deny the throw. I'm very interested to see how this goes. I'm very interested because you know what? I play fantasy football. This shit matters to me, folks. There is no off season. There is no off season for fantasy football. We are looking year round to see which clowns are going to which circus. We are seeing which contender is trying to be a pretender, and we're seeing which pretender is finally going to take off their makeup and get ready for the draft. This is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast. I am him, JIG. Subscribe, rate, and review. Tell a friend to tell a friend. That way we can all be friends. Remember, the Instagram is going to have all of our college basketball picks. We will be doing a bracket on the podcast. I will do a special episode of just the tournament madness. But overall, like I said, expect more splashes to happen because the people who weren't signed, they're going to get signed later. People are going to get cut. People are going to move on. People are going to be disgruntled because of draft picks. This is the part of the world that we live in. And I want our worlds to collide. That's why I want you to tell a friend to tell a friend. And this is that guy Jig. Once again, I am him, JIG. Peace.